Okay, so for today, once again, my name is Rebecca Cramer, and today I'm here chatting with Mario Toneguzzi. Hopefully, I said that I said that the right way. And so Mario Toneguzzi, today, first of all, today I want instead of me teaching like I usually would, I wanted to discuss the fact that there have been some pretty significant changes to businesses in the last 7 months that really have affected us all. And Mario, maybe you can introduce yourself and I know that you've had some pretty big changes in your life, and maybe you can relate to some other business owners or people that might have encountered some big changes lately.
Okay, well, I'll just give you a brief rundown of myself. I've been in the newspaper and media industry for 40 years now, and the first, 35 years of those were spent at the Calgary Herald as an editor, writer, columnist. You name it, I did it all. But 4.5 years ago, close to 4.5 years ago now, I was laid off, and then had to embark on a new journey, like many other people, I think, out there. And I kind of it was kind of bizarre because at that time, I was writing a lot of stories about people getting laid off, because I was a business writer at the end of my career at the Herald. So a lot of stories about a lot of the pain that people were going through in their own careers, and then lo and behold, it happened to me. So I became one of them as well.
And so how did that affect you personally, and what did you do to kind of change, I guess, adapt to your new life?
Well, I think, well, a couple of things. How would it impact it? Well, it's a huge impact because obviously that's part of your in your blood, basically, right? And it's something that I always did. Since I was in grade 9, growing up in Ottawa, I wanted to be a journalist, and more specifically, a writer, and working for a major Canadian daily newspaper. And I got that dream, right? And so that was everything to me. So when something like that happens, it's quite devastating, obviously. But the one thing that I did find is that while I might have had that mindset that I guess this is all I can do, or this is all I want to do type thing. I probably had that mindset for 35 plus years. What this did was open the door to other opportunities. And the one good thing, that happened to me, I always tell this story. The one good thing that happened to me as I was left the Herald gave everybody, the opportunity to do some sort of transitioning thing, right? Where you could talk to an HR type person and talk to them about your career going forward, and sort of give you some the skills needed for that. It was during that time that I was talking to this HR person who opened my eyes to the possibilities that were out there, and that, okay, I didn't have to just be a newspaper writer. I looked at the skills. What skills do I have, and where can those skills be used and translated into other areas, and transferred into other areas, and that opened the door. That gave me a clear vision of what to do moving forward. And that was probably the best thing that could happen to me, because it was in many ways a rebirth of my career.
And I would say that is absolutely 1,000,000% relevant right now to people who are, maybe they've been laid off, maybe their business has been impacted significantly, over the last 7 months. So figuring out what your skills are, like, I mean, even my own self with my team and my agency, you know, we were all in an office in March, and, you know, missed out on some great opportunities, but, and because of the whole situation, have had more opportunities because we've been able to adjust and figure out what skills can move to, you know, adjust.
Yeah. You know what I think is important. I'm a big I'm a big fan of quotes, and for those who I'm connected with, whether on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, I put out a daily quote on my social media channels, right? And I think today's was something along the line that there's nothing really that's constant except for change. And that's so true, right? And I think it's the people who learn to adapt and change. Those are the ones that are going to survive, and not only survive but thrive, right? And you know, and it's funny because, you know, an old guy like me, right? You know, even going back in time at the Herald, like, you know, there was change like a mile a minute there. You know, over 5 years, new adaptations of new technology, boom, 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 all that type of stuff. And normally you tend to associate older people that have been around and doing something for years and years and years to be the less likely to adapt and less likely to want to adapt, right? And because this is the way we've done it, and why do we need to do it differently? That type of attitude. But I always kind of embrace change, and I like change, and I think that's been helpful for me as an individual moving forward in my career, to have that mindset, right? And I think that's the key for everybody, really. You know,
I imagine that would like, it's not like it's a switch that you can just like change in your brain, you know, to, okay, now I'm going to do something different.
No, I think
you know,
I think some of it is a personality thing. Some people are kind of, I guess, born with that mindset.
Yeah.
But it's also a learned thing, I think, as well. And it's like anything else, right? You know, you take minor steps along the way. And the minor steps, you know, it's like running the marathon, right? It's one step at a time. You know, when you look 26 miles in the distance, you're going, holy smoke, how am I ever going to do that? But each step along the way gets you closer there. And I think
the destination, I mean, I think that's actually another thing that I have actually discovered, in the last 7 months. Like remembering or being reminded of things that I already knew that I should be doing. Like the thing about change is that it's daunting, right? Sometimes you don't know what to expect. So what I have actually found to be beneficial is like even writing down a list of, you know, everything when it comes to like, okay, so now what am I going to do? Am I going to find another job? Am I going to adjust? How am I going to adapt depending on what your circumstances are? You know, writing down each individual, you know, task that I might want to address within my own life, because the reality is if you look at it as one big huge you know, thing in your life instead of breaking it into individual, it's going to seem daunting. It's absolutely going to seem daunting.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important to take those steps along the way, and to gradually, you know, move into change, right? You know, it's very difficult to change on a dime, you know, right? A turn on a dime type thing. But you know, the other thing too is being prepared and being, you know, in some ways, you know, what happened with me at the Herald, I was prepared for it. You know, it's obvious. It was a shocker when it happened, but you know, I could, you know, read the tea leaves, so to speak, right? You could see you what's happening in the industry, the newspaper industry specifically. So you kind of prepare yourself for that eventuality, right? And so you do steps and things along the way to help you be better prepared for your next journey, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan, of research. Researching everything you need. If you're an individual looking for another career, we have at our fingertips now the world, really.
I know.
Through Google and everything to find out information. If you're a business, I hate the word pivoting, but so many businesses have had to do that these days.
Yeah.
But if you're a business that needs to change and needs to turn into something else, transform yourself.
But also, I mean, with businesses, you can still pivot and adjust within your own organization. I think the thing about the last 7 months is that if you have been able to adjust and you have been able to pivot, there's actually potentially more opportunity in the world, because this digital thing, this, communicating over Zoom, although it's a little less personal, it still makes the world a lot smaller, right? So definitely, I think there's some different opportunities that we did before. Mario, there are a couple of people that had commented in the chat there. Tanya says, Mario, it's great to see you. It's been a long time. Joe Magus.
Thanks.
Joe Magus, I'm not sure if I'm saying that name properly. I find the Calgary business news provided by Mario to be timely and informative.
Thank you for that, Joe.
So advice, do you have any actionable things so people have been laid off, businesses have shut down. What are some, or maybe businesses are still open and they're struggling. What are some actionable things that you think that business owners or individuals can do to adapt to the change?
Well, let me just start personally on an individual level. If I was a firm believer that if you have the resources to do this, to take some time, and not just jump from say one career that's ended into another one, and just I had the luxury of, I really had a year and a half really through my severance package at the Herald. So I had a year and a half to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, type thing, and that was great. And so if the opportunities are there for individuals to take some time off, I would strongly encourage it, because it gives you a nice break to really spend some time with yourself and think about what you want to do, right?
But what about the people? The thing is, what about the people that don't have that opportunity? There are. I would say there's probably more people than not that don't have that opportunity.
Perhaps, but all I'm just saying is that if you have that opportunity to take it,
absolutely.
For those that are not, it all depends again on their own personal situation, and if they're in dire financial straits, well, obviously you're going to jump at whatever is there and available for you, right? But a lot of the key, again, you step back in time. A lot of the key to all this is the foundations that you lay, throughout your career, right? And it's all about the networking and the connections and the relationships that you build with people. You know what? I'm a firm believer that all those relationships, they're meaningful at the time, but they also set a nice foundation for the future that you never know. You never know when, when somebody pops into your life. Even in my own career. Like, and right now I do a bunch of stuff, but basically I'm a freelancer, but I have
Mm-hmm.
different projects out there. But I'm amazed at how people from the past have come forward. That every once in a while I'll get a note or an email from somebody saying, "Hey, Mario, I see what you're doing now. Would you be interested in doing some writing for us or for me?" Boom. And all that is because of what you've done years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so that is the key for people. If you haven't done that, well, it's almost like being in the digital world as a business owner, right? You should have been doing this years ago, right?
Yeah.
But if you're
Ab-
not, if you're not
absolutely.
doing it like right now, and it's the same thing with people, if they're laid off work or looking for work, they better be doing that networking and connections and relationship building like right now.
Totally agree with you. I think that networking is very important, and I think I'm actually going to disagree. Well, I mean, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to disagree with you when it comes to, the taking a break after having a big change in your career, or I obviously have not had the same big change as you, but I feel like during this time, especially, I have had quite a significant change, and I've been able to adapt. And some of the reasons that I have been able to adapt are because I didn't take a break. I actually ramped it up, sort of
Mhm.
thing. So instead of stepping back, which I think for some, I think that's important. For my own self, I can't imagine taking a break.
Well, again,
So
it depends on the individual, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think for me, even during this time, being able to network with other business owners and other people who have been affected by this, super important to me as well. So I agree with you on the networking thing. Of course, absolutely. And social media, I mean, it's being able to communicate much closer than we ever have before, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the joy, right? Like, what did people do? I don't know, years and years ago when you didn't have LinkedIn, for instance, right?
Hmm.
And you couldn't connect with people. Like, obviously, it was a more personal experience, but because you're building relationships on a personal level, live human to human type thing.
Hmm.
You know what? We've embarked on a whole new world these days in the digital world, and everyone should use those tools that are there to help them in any way, whether they're looking for work individually or whether they're looking for work as a business.
Absolutely. And one last question for you. What what would you say that you're the most excited about right now?
Wow. That's a tough one, right?
I
it's a
know it's a tough
it's
one.
especially asking someone in Calgary that question, right? Because we've gone through such a hard time lately. Like you know,
Absolutely, we have, yeah.
we have since late 2014, so basically 6 years. We've been in an economic downturn because of the oil prices collapsing, and then of course since mid-March we've had the pandemic hitting us between the eyeballs, so to speak. So it's a tough time in Calgary. Yet, you know, there's lots of opportunities, and I think that's the key. I, you know, I, what, I do a lot of work also with companies, right? And
Hmm.
do communication. Not only do I do writing, but I also do some like communications work with companies, etc. I always ask people like, do you think this is the time to turtle? Do you go go into your own shell and just hope to ride everything out and or like be a bear in hibernation and then wake
Yeah.
up and everything's done, and well, everything's back to normal type thing. I think that approach is a really bad one,
Yeah.
and that's a really bad one, whether you're a business or whether you're an individual. I think you got to be aggressive. I think you got to go out there and look for the opportunities that are there.
Absolutely.
And there are tons of them, right? For every for every business closure that we have 1, 2 businesses that open, right?
But more than that, even, because for every person that is getting laid off,
Mm-hmm.
there's even more opportunity for them to start a new business. Why
Exactly.
not take this opportunity and do what you always wanted to do, right? If you
Yeah.
wanted to start your own business or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, and I think it's important that for everybody to look at those opportunities and come to it with clear eyes, with no biases or whatever, and look at look at where things are going. Like this is an obvious example, but the face mask stuff is an obvious example. But look, I go around my neighborhood and how many signs I see, but people who are making face masks, right?
Yeah.
I've done a story recently on a company that local company that's doing that. That's an obvious example, but
Yeah.
it's an example of somebody or people seeing an opportunity and jumping at it, right? And I guess
Absolutely.
that's things that you need.
And I think it's important for us to talk about the challenges and talk about the opportunities to improve, but also what great things are actually happening. So I'm glad that you could come and chat with me, Mario. I definitely appreciate your time. And just in case, if anyone found this video useful or interesting, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to connect or follow me. I'm going to also add Mario's social media handles just right below. And yeah, thanks so much for watching.